Welcome to the Region Free Gamers Podcast, Episode 9. Today, a little niche show you may have heard of, E3. Hello everyone, welcome back to the Region Free Gamers Podcast, the podcast that's fluent in gaming. Today we're going to be talking about E3, the big event that just happened recently. I personally can't wait to talk about it. And joining me today, my other co-hosts who also can't wait to talk about it. To the north of me, Masa.
Hey, yo.
To the south of me, out of Virginia, Arnie.
Hey, I could probably wait a few minutes to talk about it, actually. It's fine.
Okay, cool. You want to just stop recording now? And to the far east of me, for the first time joining us out of Holland by way of England, Geoff.
Hi guys, hi there.
So, I don't even think we're going to talk about what we've been playing lately. Although before we do dive into E3, just a quick reminder to our listeners: if you enjoy the show, please make sure to subscribe. If you leave us a comment as well on iTunes, super helpful. And who knows, maybe you have a friend who's bored with their current podcasts and looking for something new to listen. By all means, tell a friend that you enjoy this podcast and direct them to it. So yeah, E3 guys, where do we want to start? Do we want to start with the big N? Do we want to start with Sony?
Let's just get Nintendo out of the way, because I feel like they're the ones we're going to talk about the most.
I think you're probably right. So I've got the list of Nintendo games here that I was interested in. If you guys want to add anything to the list, like we don't have to just go by this list only. There was quite a bit going on there. So did you guys see, like for me personally, I actually went to the show. Was very lucky this year. The trailers that I saw, the one that I was most interested in by far, well, not by far, but the one I was most interested in was Demon X Machina. Did you guys see that one?
Yeah.
I watched it this morning, not knowing what it was, and just by the name, I was like, "This doesn't sound like a game that I'd expect to be coming from Nintendo." First and foremost, and after watching the trailer, I'm very excited about it. It looks super cool. It's like somebody over at Marvelous, I guess, really liked Zone of the Enders and was like, I want to do that, but like even more insane.
That's kind of how I saw it. I saw it and okay, so here's the thing. Like, I have such a weakness for behind the back, third person mech, kind of games.
Yeah.
And it all starts with Virtual On.
Of course. As
you guys are probably aware. And it goes to Armored Core from there. Do you guys remember Armored Core?
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So anytime I see that kind of game and, I'm automatically excited, but at the same time, there's still kind of two different types of games in that genre when you think about it. There's like the kind of almost sim-like mech warrior where you're kind of plodding along and, those are okay. Those are good for what they are. But the ones that get me excited are the ones where you can move fast.
Yeah.
And the mechs are agile and nimble. And that's what I got from Demon X Machina. It just looked like a really nimble mech shooter with really cool art. That's what I gathered anyway.
Yeah, I would say the game looks very impressive graphically, especially like for a Switch game. But I gotta say, I do have my concerns about the game. Even if, it does look good. And, like you said, the gameplay looks fine and fun. But I'm a bit concerned that it's developed by Marvelous, and, Marvelous is mainly known for games like Senran Kakura, which aren't like, they aren't like, gameplay classics, so I'm a bit like, I'm hoping that they will release a demo for that game. I definitely want to try it out before buying it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to disagree with that. I've never actually played a Senran Kagura game. I thought, so my thought on them has always been that the gameplay is actually surprisingly good, but you never notice because there's just boobs all over the place.
Yeah.
Well, I would say gameplay-wise, Seiran Kakura is kind of like, I would say poor man's Musou.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
yeah,
is like,
and that's about it.
so what you're telling me is that Demon X Machina is not going to have big anime titties. Is that the vibe that I'm sort of getting here?
It's a
Yeah,
little
that's
bit of
my
a knock
main
against
concern.
it.
Actually, it's okay. Yeah, not gonna lie, it's not the gameplay; it's the lack of boobs.
Yeah. This is very concerning. They probably had to hire a whole new team for this.
Well, I don't think we need to talk too much about this game. There wasn't any playable demo for it at E3.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, even if there were playable demos of games at E3, I actually didn't play any of them. And you guys heard me whine about this over and over, but like the lineups were just ridiculous to play anything. So yeah, I was my main exposure to all these games was via the trailers. The only game I actually played was Soul Calibur 6, but we'll get to Soul Calibur 6 later. In fact, Soul Calibur 6 isn't even on my list now that I think about it, which is just I have to add that.
It isn't on mine either, but that's just because I think I've been so burnt by Soul Calibur lately that I've just kind of go, yeah, you know.
No, I get it, man. And we'll stay on theme. We'll get to Soul Calibur after, I swear. Pokemon, is anybody excited for Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee? I'm not. So how about you guys?
Yeah, I would say, yeah, I am. And mainly, I mean, I'm not gonna say that it, like the game actually, it looks surprisingly good. Yeah, sure, it looks like an up-res version of, like the 3DS games. It's definitely using like the old engine, but I would say it still looks nice, and there's some welcome additions, and well, okay, so yeah, sure, I understand it why people have been so negative about like how you catch Pokemon, because it's like straight out of Pokemon Go, and yeah, that doesn't look that great, but overall the game does look nice, and what I'm really excited about is that for the first time ever, you actually can play the game co-op.
Yeah. I am cautiously optimistic about it. It looks really nice. Because I think it's exactly what people have been asking for forever. It's a full 3D sort of, Pokemon adventure. I think this is sort of the testing ground for, something more ambitious that's yet to come. So I don't know if I'll be getting this one, but it looks good. I like the sort of the way they've redesigned the original Kanto region, and they have the original 150 Pokemon.
Yeah.
So I mean, if I could find it on the cheap, I'd definitely probably give it a go.
Yeah, I think it's a game that completely makes sense from Nintendo's point of view. You've basically got this phenomenal success that was Pokemon Go. You now got this phenomenal success that is the Switch. Marrying those two together to get even more people to buy into the consoles, especially the younger generation who are going to want that, especially with that Pokeball add-on. I think it's. I mean, Pokemon has been a license to print money for what now over 20 years. So
yeah.
It's a complete no-brainer.
Personally, I'm a big fan of that Pokeball controller. I think it's nice that you have like another means by which you can inflict your cruelty to animals.
Yeah.
It's it just looks very cute.
Yeah. But you're right, Masa. The co-op is probably the biggest thing to come out of this. And I hope that's something that they sort of continue to do moving forward on all their Pokemon console RPGs. Also, I really like the way they've set up where whatever Pokemon is with you at the time, sort of either if they're small enough they ride on your shoulder, or if they're big enough you can ride on them. And I think that looks really cool because I think they've done it for every single Pokemon. They either follow you or ride on you, or you ride on them depending on which Pokemon it is.
And also what's really awesome is that for the first time you can actually see the Pokemon. Yeah. Like roaming around the world. It's not like, okay, so I want to catch like let's say a Pikachu, and then you have to fight through like millions of like trash Pokemon to get that one Pikachu. Yeah. Because like now you can see that, oh yeah, Pikachu's there, I'm just gonna go there and catch it.
That's another thing that I think people were sort of conflicted about, whether they liked it or not. I love it because I fucking hate random encounters, especially in Pokemon games. I still remember that cave in the first game that was full of Zubats, and every 2 steps was another goddamn Zubat. So I love this because it's it's something where if you want to grind, you want to train, go ahead, run into every single Pokemon. If you just want to get from point A to point B, especially before you have some of those moves that let you move around a lot quicker, it's easy and you sort of avoid all the Pokemon you don't want to deal with.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. I know we're not going to talk about what games we've been playing, but a couple of weeks ago I started up Leaf Green again for the first time in years, and I think I'm up to now where all the ghost Pokemon are, but I spent like an hour going through that cave, just getting more and more like, this is just too fundamentally old school now.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think I could do this again with a brand new game. So yeah, definitely like the idea of seeing the Pokemon in the wild, being able to kind of like wait for that moment to see your Pikachus or whatever you want, and be able to like go for it. Yeah, it's good. It kind of fits in with that now like modern era of gaming where you kind of do want a bit. You do want it to speed up. You do want that kind of quick moment of like of satisfaction rather than having to grind and grind and grind. So
yeah, it's for people like us who don't have any time and are just just angry all the time and just want to get to the next town.
Because we all get super angry playing Pokemon, right? That's kind of the goal, yeah?
I rage all the time.
But yeah, also
right,
like
guys.
one thing we should probably like still mention before we move on to the next game is that Game Freak and the Pokemon Company, like they already announced that next year we are getting like the actual like the core Pokemon game, which is like more traditional, and also they said that it's gonna be the best looking Pokemon game ever. So I think that's gonna be the first game with like the new engine, and it's probably gonna be like fully 3D. Because Let's Go is still basically just a pretty version of the 3DS games.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Okay. Masa, I saw that you added Xenoblade Chronicles to the list.
Absolutely. That I gotta say, like, that's definitely like one of the, I would say Nintendo's, like overall their E3 showing wasn't like mind-blowing, because they focused mainly on 2018 games, outside of Demon Ex Machina and Fire Emblem, but Xenoblade 2, the DLC that's called Torna, the Golden Country, coming out in September, and holy crap, that's way bigger than I expected. It really does feel like almost like a sequel, or well, in this case, a prequel to Xenoblade Chronicles 2, and it actually takes place 500 years before the actual game. And it does seem really massive, and they actually added a lot of new places and new characters, new enemies, even new gameplay mechanics, so it really does feel it's not just like, because really often when you have RPG expansions, you basically just, visit the same places as in the main game. There might be some, new side quests, but this is completely new, and it's basically a standalone game, and that's how they're also selling it, like, they are releasing a physical copy of the game.
Yeah.
I had no idea. I originally had this game when I was looking at our list, and I actually originally had it, and then I'm like, it's an expansion, whatever, and then I took it off the list, but then you swooped in and made sure it was there. I had no idea it was this involved.
Yeah, it's really massive, and definitely like one of the games that I can't wait to check out. Yeah. And it looks really impressive.
Here's my thing with this is I really like it because it seems like it's adding a lot. Like it seems like it's going to be worth what they're asking for it. But my immediate reaction to this now is I don't own Xenoblade Chronicles 2, so I'm definitely going to wait probably like maybe 6 months to 8 months until they release Xenoblade Chronicles 2 Game of the Year or Complete Edition or whatever that has the original game and this. So I'm very excited, but for me now, I wonder if it's going to put some people off on buying Xenoblade Chronicles 2, because, I don't know if Nintendo's going to do that for a fact, but it's sort of a trend now where eventually there is a version of the game that's released that just has everything on it. But aside from that, it looks great. I mean, you couldn't ask for for more. It's definitely not just like a tacked on sort of DLC compilation with a few new side quests. It looks like a whole new adventure.
Yeah, to be honest, it actually looks a lot better than the Breath of the Wild DLC that we got.
Yeah.
I definitely agree with you on the whole Game of the Year situation. I think we're kind of wise to that now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, now that I see this DLC, I don't own Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Realistically, I probably never will. There are too many games out there, and the line has to be drawn somewhere, at least for me. But with that said, if I was going to get it, I would also wait. I mean, I see the DLC out there. I'm not going to get the original and the DLC. If I already had the original, that'd be a different story.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's definitely going to be something along those lines. Like, we're just, I don't know. I think we're just a little bit wise to that whole thing now.
Yeah. Have they said, Masa, or do you know, and I'm assuming you do need the original Xenoblade Chronicles 2 to play this, right? Because if they're releasing it physically, does that mean it's standalone? Like, you can play it on its own?
I actually believe that you can actually play it without the main game.
Okay.
Wow.
But that would be weird.
And also, it's like how it's done. Like, okay, so yeah, you can buy the DLC, like Season Pass,
yeah,
or the Expansion Pass, and it includes like all the DLC so far. Like, they have added like new characters and side quests and that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But then with the physical edition, it actually comes with the like the Golden Country, like story expansion. But there's a separate code for the rest of the DLC.
Okay. That's nice.
So at least that makes me believe that it's gonna be like completely like a standalone game.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, Masa, so how many hours do you think this is going to add on to an already crazy large game?
Yeah.
Okay, so it took me around 90 to 100 hours to beat the base game. My characters were around level 70 at that point. And in the trailer, I believe that we saw characters from level 5 up until like level maybe 35, 36. So, yeah, it's probably gonna be quite long. Like, I don't know, 40 hours maybe?
That's good.
I mean, that definitely
40 hours
worth
is...
price of
See, that's
admission.
reasonable.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, Geoff, tell me about how excited you are for Mario Party.
How do you know this was top of my list? That's what I want to know. Oh man, I haven't played a Mario Party game in a long, long time. Not since my student days. That was a good game to get the shots in and get the beers in and have a blast. But yeah, that's. I mean, if you have a young family, great game. But
here's the thing, specifically about this trailer. And I don't know if you guys saw the same trailer I did, because I don't know if there was more than one. But
is it the one with the hipsters?
Yes.
Okay.
So the two things I
But
learned...
isn't that like every Nintendo commercial ever?
Yeah,
nowadays?
pretty much. It's like, it's only like
about the
extremely
families.
attractive, like mid-20s to like late 20s adults now. Like, there's no more children in Nintendo commercials. They all died.
Yeah.
But the one thing I really loved about this trailer was there's a scene where they're at a bar and they sort of put two switches down on the table and sort of connect them, and they swipe, and it does a thing where it essentially mimics like a board. So however you configure the Switch tablets, like that's the shape of the board you're going to be playing on. And
yes,
that was
I remember
insane.
this thing.
That was crazy to me. I was like, this is a thing that like the Switch can do? Because it sort of adds like another layer of replayability to like all these games. It's like, not only do you have like the randomness of what minigame you're going to play, but then on top of that, for certain minigames, you can sort of decide what the board you're playing on looks like. So you can configure it however you want. I think they showed like 3 or 4 different configurations. But the fact that you can do that with 2 switches is crazy to me.
Yeah, that was definitely the most kind of visually standout thing on the trailer. I immediately started thinking about how that can be applied to other games. And because I'm not a developer, I thought of 0 things that could possibly be done with it. But I'm sure somebody, you know what? I thought the same thing back when the 3DS, or sorry, when the Nintendo DS was first announced. I'm like, 2 screens, it's pretty gimmicky there, Nintendo. What are they going to do with this? And they definitely thought of things to do.
Yeah.
So it does, yeah. Like, it makes me wonder what kind of further applications can be used by this whole, Tetrising the tablets together.
And even, I think, later in that same trailer, they have another scene where they're playing some sort of baseball minigame, and, one side is the one doing the pitching, the other side's doing the batting, and so they have the screens facing away from each other, so you can't see what kind of pitch they're going to throw at you while you're batting. And so stuff like that, I think, is really cool. Like, it turns a machine that's already sort of really enjoyable and entertaining because of its, like, function of being portable and docked, but also adds like more functionality to it that, I would have never thought of doing something like that. Like that's future shit. Like that's beyond
to me the next level. Okay, so I finally thought of a use, because now that you mentioned the baseball one, I forgot about that one. Like, now a 2-player tactical RPG, if you want to play it locally, you can do that, and you don't have to share one screen.
Exactly.
So you can have your fog of war where you don't see or like an RTS or something.
Yeah, like
where you don't
Advanced
see
Wars
what
or
your
something.
opponent's doing because they have their own screen, and vice versa.
Yeah, that'd be really cool, actually. Like a Fire Emblem. Actually, maybe Fire Emblem has multiplayer on it.
Oh my god, if they did that with Fire Emblem, I mean, look, let's be honest, only like 10 people would like really be excited. But those 10 people would be really excited.
Yeah. It basically what I'm trying to say is, like, I'm not necessarily really excited about Super Mario Party, but it's evolved the Switch into where now I'm even more excited about getting a Switch.
Yeah, that's a really good way of putting it. When I saw the Mario Party trailer, man, the fact that they call it Super Mario Party, where's the creativity, guys? Give me something. Super Mario Party? Is this like 16-bit? What's going on here?
But yeah, I would say the game looks a lot better than the last few Mario Party games. But still, I'm a bit... Yeah, that gimmick that we talked about, that's really cool. And I also, I was like Paul, I was like, yeah, what could you use that for? But, also, once again, I couldn't come up with anything. But I'm still a bit at least what's cool is that they have added online for certain minigames.
Yeah.
I don't think you can actually play an entire, board game online, but at least you can play some minigames online. That's cool. But I'm a bit I actually own Mario Party 10. It's not a great game, and I have only played it I don't know, maybe a few times with my friends. So yeah, money well spent once again.
Yeah.
And here I'm yeah, the game looks cool, but I know if I bought it, it would be €60, and then I would maybe play it 3 times a year or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's, getting the people together is already difficult enough as it is.
Yeah.
And then once you do get the people together, is Super Mario Party the game that you want to be playing?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I'll say that at least for the Switch version, getting the people together is probably not as hard, since, like this commercial has shown, you can sort of show up with one of these at a restaurant or a brewery and just be like, hey guys, now we're playing Super Mario Party if you want to be that guy.
Okay, but have we reached that point? Geoff, are you showing up to a pub and with your Switch and not being embarrassed about it? Have we
According to
reached this point?
Nintendo commercials, yes, absolutely.
Well, when they did all the initial marketing for the Switch, you're watching kids play it under a bridge downtown and things like that, and you're kind of going, are we really going to see this? Is this really going to happen in everyday life? And then when it came out, I see people on the train and people at work who are kind of very shyly kind of getting it out and not pretending that they're not playing Zelda at lunch break. But in the Netherlands, they are super hot on pub games. So when you go into a pub, there's always board games and things like that around. So they already have this kind of communal thing going on with gaming. But the Switch, I never see it out in pubs in the Netherlands. And in the UK, I can't imagine it would be commonplace. But you saying like with the tablets, I think what Nintendo are great at is kind of showing other developers, look, this is what you can do with our technology. But it's really hit or miss with Nintendo. Sometimes things stick, and it's like the Wii, and it's revolutionary. And sometimes, like the Wii U, some of the things they were trying to do there with the dual screen, it wasn't quite working, and developers didn't know what to do with it.
Absolutely.
But with stuff like this...
one of the craziest things that I've seen online was that someone actually took a Switch to a fucking strip club. I was like, serious, like, if I went to a place like that, I would have better things to do than play, like, I mean, I love my Switch, but, like, I would probably do something else than,
mad props
play
to
Super
that
Mario
guy.
Party.
Yeah.
And or girl.
That's a hell of a power move right there. Like, whatever. Here's my Switch. I don't care.
I was gonna tell. I think I may have mentioned it before, but I'm not sure if I mentioned it on the show. When I was in Puerto Rico, like a month or two ago, we went to this bar, and it's like a sort of a local dive, and they had a dock switch connected to a flat screen behind the bar, and you could ask for some controllers and play Mario Kart 8, and people were doing it consistently. I did it for a while. It's definitely, but that sort of goes towards the argument of there's definitely better games to play than Super Mario Party, probably. Like, I'd prefer to play Mario Kart 8 than Super Mario Party, honestly.
Yeah,
but it's
I
a
agree.
thing that people do. I think that the Switch, and Nintendo specifically, I think have sort of have garnered enough goodwill to be like, these are games that people are okay playing. Like Mario Kart, everybody loves Mario Kart. You know what I mean? Like, it's sort of ubiquitous as like everybody has played it before. They're willing to play it. It's stuff that people know.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think Super Mario Party will be forgotten by the time Smash comes out, because I mean that is the Nintendo party game.
Yes, like, is Super Mario Party coming out before Smash?
Super Mario Party is coming in
it's
October.
a October release.
Okay, and when's Smash supposed to come out?
December?
November?
December.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's probably pretty clever on their part.
Yeah.
So before we get, because like, surprise, surprise, we're starting to like get a little long here. So before we get to Fire Emblem, the indie titles, I mean, Overcooked, Hollow Knight, I've seen these games before.
Yeah.
Have any of you guys ever seen Killer Queen Black? I
No.
had never seen this game or heard of this game until I was actually at E3, and I saw it on the big screen there that they had.
I mean, the first time I heard about that game was that when they actually, like, there was that leak that had like all the Nintendo like show floor games, and that was there, and I was like, wait, what is this? And yeah, I mean, I saw the trailer, but I'm still a bit like, I'm not sure what it's about.
Yeah, I have no clue. Okay, if I'm listening to Nintendo Presenter Guy, then it's a really popular game and, blah, 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 blah. But I've never heard of it. And I'm looking at it and I can't quite figure out what's going on or how you win per se. Geoff, Arnie, either of you, have you seen this game before?
No idea.
Nope.
Time
Okay.
to move on.
That was a
Yeah,
quick.
no kidding. Yeah, so Fire Emblem, eh?
This one I'm legitimately excited about. This one,
Yeah.
Because I don't think I've played a console Fire Emblem yet. And this looks really good. Even the trailer, was, typical sort of hype machine thing. But some of the gameplay they showed, I'm really excited about. It seems like, it's what we always talk about. Do what you do best and improve on it, as much as you can without, sacrificing anything that makes the game good. It looks like Fire Emblem. It plays like Fire Emblem. It's Fire Emblem. Like, I'm probably going to really enjoy it.
I think for me it's a day one purchase.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I know for Masa it's a day one purchase, right?
Yeah. That, like, before before E3, I was like, there's one game that I really want to see. I like, I don't care about, like, maybe you're not gonna, show Bayonetta 3 and Metroid Prime 4. Like, you can forget about those games as long as I get Fire Emblem. and we got it. Of course, it's a bit of a bummer that it got delayed to 2019. But yeah, the game looks really amazing. And to be honest, I was a bit worried about it because I wasn't sure, because this is, it's the first console Fire Emblem game in over a decade, so it was really difficult to picture what it was gonna be like. But yeah, I feel like they really took all the good things from the 3DS games and just, made it better looking and, bigger and better. And okay, graphically, I would say if you have played Fire Emblem Warriors, it's quite similar. Like, I would say that the character models look amazing. Of course, yeah, the environments look a bit rough, but that can still be improved because, yeah, we are still like, I don't know when the game is coming out. Maybe it's gonna be an early 2019 title, so there's still, time to upgrade the graphics. And of course, this is the first Fire Emblem game on the Switch, so. But yeah, they added a lot of like really interesting things. Like there's the whole formation option.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it looks like for the first time, you actually like it was always a bit weird when you would have a fight and all these fights would be like, between you it would be like one-on-one, but now you actually have an army with you. And they didn't really explain how it actually works in the game, but that's definitely an interesting addition.
Yeah, I think that particular edition looks really, really interesting. I'm with you, Masa. Like, Fire Emblem straddled this line, and to be fair, it straddled it really well, where you had these fairly large-scale battles, but with a whole bunch of individual characters. So, the storylines keep talking about these giant wars between kingdoms and so on, but then you look at the battlefield and there's like 30 soldiers.
Yeah.
So there was always a little bit of a disconnect there, but I'm a big fan of having commanders and different soldier types in tactical RPGs. That goes back to when I first played Langrisser, like ages ago on the Mega Drive, and yeah, like that whole option, I think it's a great idea. I'm really looking forward to it. It looks really good.
Yeah, I guess like with the older Fire Emblems, I always saw like these battles as like the war is going off on the side. So that's like army versus army, and that's happening in the FMVs, and that's happening offside. Whereas your group was always like the Special Ops or the Navy SEALs or someone like that who was doing the infiltration missions. That's in my head like the narrative that I created for myself. To
yes,
kind of like
you
to justify
that.
I'm fighting a war with 30 people. Okay, sure, fine, whatever. But that's how I kind of justified it. But like for me, like so, Awakening is my number one game on the 3DS, and it made me fall in love with Nintendo again after having a few years of kind of being a little bit like more of a Sony boy. And Fates, it trod that line really carefully for me on relationships, and I think it went a little bit too far sometimes in the relationship side, and I don't find that overly interesting. I understand the mechanic of it, but I think Fates went a bit too far, and Fates was just gigantic.
Mm-hmm.
So I really struggled to kind of like play all three games and like invest all the time needed. But Echoes was again like I think I really enjoyed that because it kind of went back to basics.
I would say out of these like 3 releases, well, first of all, Awakening is my all-time favorite game. I fucking love that game. But when it comes to actual, like, let's say, gameplay and the level design, it's definitely behind Fates. But the problem with Fates is that I think when it comes to levels and stages, and I mean, there's brilliant stage gimmicks in those games, but this story is such a fucking mess.
Yeah.
I mean, I actually played all 3 games back to back in 1 month, so that was really intense. But yeah, overall, the story is not very good. It was actually like, there were like some shockingly dumb moments, even for a Fire Emblem game. Echoes I did enjoy, except that I think this is like one of those cases. I mean, it's a remake of a Famicom game, and they stayed maybe a bit true to the original game, as a lot of the stage gimmicks were more annoying than, challenging in a fun way, because it's been like Fire Emblem Conquest out of the Fates games. That's really freaking difficult, but it's difficult in a fun way. But like Echoes had many maps that just made me want to give up. And also the level design overall is not that great, but presentation-wise it's excellent, because it's the first Fire Emblem game that's like fully voiced. And I'm hoping that Three Houses will be the same.
It would have to be at this point. I mean, if it's, it's coming out for their flagship system, you can play it at home. It would have to be voiced. I can't imagine otherwise.
Yeah, it has to be.
Okay, so here's another thing. Now, I play a lot of games and so on and so forth, and I have a pretty good idea of what's popular. I knew Fortnite was popular. I had no idea it was that huge.
Oh yeah.
Because like at E3, it was easily the biggest game there. Easily. Like,
Absolutely.
and so now it's coming for consoles. Like, do any of you guys play this game? What's the deal here?
Okay, so I have tried it. Like the moment it was shadow dropped for the Switch, I mean, I went and downloaded it. But like the game is actually such a huge phenomenon that it has been like, if you think about Xbox One and PS4, like these first few months this year have been kinda slow. Of course, I mean, you had God of War, which was a massive game, but it's actually been driving the sales of Xbox One and PS4, because all these kids are like, I want to play Fortnite. Like, that's how big that game is, and it's gonna be massive on the Switch as well. Yeah. And it was downloaded, I believe that it was like
2 million times.
Yeah,
within
the
first
first 24 hours. That's insane.
Yeah. Yeah,
Are you talking about the demo, or is it out already for the Switch, the full game?
Yeah, the full thing. Because essentially, they announced it, and like 2 hours later, is available for download. It's free. It's free to play.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've known that Fortnite has been huge for a long time. Especially, I think my sort of meter for how popular games are who plays it, and like my like younger siblings play it, and they don't play anything. So I know that game is popular. I have coworkers who play Fortnite. Like people who normally don't really talk about video games talk about Fortnite. I know they just started. I think the article was they're in the works of starting a competitive Fortnite league, and Riot has said that within the first year they're putting up at least $100 million in prize money for Fortnite tournaments. So this game is printing money.
Wow.
And now you can play it. Now that it's come out on the Switch, you can play it on literally everything. It's on iOS, on Androids, on PS4, on Xbox One, on Switch. It's literally, you can probably play it on like your Fallout 4 Pit-Boy Special Edition. Like it's on literally anything with a screen has Fortnite on it.
But yeah, I think like when it comes to this kind of games, I think we kind of live in our own little like gaming bubble, because all we play, like I know like our taste in games, and I mean we play a lot of older games, and we play all sorts of like RPGs and other niche titles. So I kind of feel like there's a disconnect between like I don't play games like Fortnite or Minecraft, like all these like legit like huge games. Yeah. So sometimes it's a bit like, even I was like, well, I mean of course I knew of Fortnite, but like I didn't really know why it was such a big deal and what it was even about. Yeah,
for me it's more, I'm not a huge multiplayer guy just in general. I've seen people play it. It looks pretty fun. My whole thing is I don't want to get sucked into something like this. Like something that has no end is like the scariest thing for me, because if I enjoy it, then I'm going to be playing it all the time, and I have way too much shit that I need to play besides this, that I can take that risk.
Yeah, that I definitely agree with. So and it's one of the things that's keeping me from taking the plunge too.
Yeah, that's the only reason.
All right, well, moving on from Fortnite then. So before we get to Smash, did any of you guys see any of the trailers for Ninjala?
This was one that I missed completely. I did not watch trailers for it.
Yeah,
How about
this one passed
Geoff?
me by.
Masa?
I totally missed the announcement, but like when I saw it on our little list, I went to check out the trailer, and I don't know what to think about it. Yeah, the art style is not very appealing, and to be honest, I had no idea what was going on. I don't really know what kind of game that is. Like, is it like an arena fighter? Is it a Splatoon clone? Like,
It looks like an arena fighter. Like I was watching, they had a playable demo at E3, and I was watching people play it because, I couldn't play the games myself. And I don't know, it looked fun, but frankly, if you guys aren't aware of it, let's just move on to Smash Brothers, right?
Yeah, everyone is here.
Except for have you guys seen all the Waluigi memes before we get in
Yes.
on the deep dive?
Oh, I haven't, no.
Oh, these are the greatest thing ever. It's like
They're
the
great.
best one I've seen so far is like the big picture with like all the characters on it. It says everyone is here, and then underneath it is like somebody's like Waluigi like doll like thrown in like a muddy puddle or something in the rain. It's
Like,
great.
I made an Instagram post about Smash, and even I got a few Waluigi comments.
Yeah, it's poor Waluigi. He is in there. He's just an assist trophy. He's not a playable character. So technically, they're not lying.
Oh man, that's so funny. Because when we were playing Mario Party 4 that night, like, dude, Waluigi, he stuck out like a sore thumb. He's just so useless.
Poor Waluigi. But I will say, I've never been a huge Smash guy since Melee. I played a lot of the original when I was a kid, and I played some Melee. After that, I sort of fell off of it. But I gotta admit that this trailer really has me wanting to play this now. And I know a lot of people are... I think a lot of people are upset because we're not getting as many new characters, and it's not a brand new Smash Brothers game. But I mean, to me, some of these characters haven't been in Smash for 10 years plus. So these are new characters to this generation. Like Ice Climbers hasn't been in since like the original Smash Brothers, I think. Maybe they were in Melee.
Melee.
Yeah,
they were
so
in Melee.
since Melee, which is like the
They
early
weren't
2000s.
good though. They really weren't. They really.
I mean, but
No, but a lot of people
they're
actually
there.
like. Yeah, like
True.
I remember like when the Wii U game or the 3DS Wii U game came out, a lot of people were the Ice Climbers. Like, so
Yeah,
that's
true.
why I mean, and I actually have a friend who's always like maining Ice Climbers in Melee. So I guess there's some fans, but yeah, Ridley, like that's one huge addition.
Oh yeah, let's talk
That
about
was
how
cool.
Mario
That-
died. Let's talk about how Mario got murdered.
Yeah, rest in peace.
Straight up, just
Yeah, no more Mario games.
just killed. Him and Mega Man, they both got stabbed.
Yeah, that was insane.
It was like, what? But I'm really excited about having all the characters back, just because I think, I think this is the epitome of what Nintendo, I think, wanted for Smash Brothers. I don't think Nintendo ever imagined Smash Brothers as being like a competitive fighting game. I think they saw it as like a really fun, interesting party game where you could take your favorite characters from a whole bunch of different franchises and just have them beat the crap out of each other. And this is the epitome of that. They got literally...
I think it's a completely community-led thing. Like Melee still being competitive, that's based on the community. I think Nintendo had no input in that. Whereas when you get your Street Fighters and those guys, that's where like Capcom are like pushing it. They really want it to be a community game. But Nintendo, they just let it go out into the wild, and it became what it is today. And the fact that you can still connect a GameCube controller, and they're going to release the adapter, it just shows like how much they want to make sure that community is kept in the loop.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's actually great that now a lot of like Smash Bros. Pros have been saying that this was like the first time, like at E3, that Nintendo was like really embracing like the Smash community, and they like had their own tournament with all these like, you know, pro players, and like they added back stuff like the wave dash, and the game is a bit faster than the Wii U game. It's close to melee. So I think like Sakurai, who has never really embraced the competitive side of the game, I think it's finally gonna happen with this one.
Yeah. You know, and that's not even talking about, you know, the work that has to go in to creating, you know, a 66 person roster, not counting like all the variations on like Inklings and Mii fighters, because I think there's like 8 each of those, with like unique costumes and some unique animations, having to license all these other characters that are non-Nintendo, like Snake, Cloud, Pac-Man, Sonic. Like, this is crazy. Like, the fact that they were able to pull this off and legitimately get, you know, every character in there in some form or another.
Yeah,
and
I'm
what's
super
insane
impressed.
also is that like having such a big roster, when you think about like nowadays, a lot of these fighting games, they actually like rely on DLC, and you have, you know, like seasons, and they're like, okay, so the base game has 10 characters, season 1, 5 more, season 2, 5 more.
No.
Here you can unlock over 60 characters.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm sure that there's gonna be DLC characters down the line, but it's still insane having a roster that huge in a fighting game.
Yeah. The only thing that makes me nervous about this is that when games do stuff like this, it's like, this is like, you know, it sounds like a swan song sort of thing. I don't think necessarily for Smash Brothers, but I would not be surprised if Sakurai is like, this is my last like Smash Brothers game. I'm out.
Yeah, I mean, he actually already said that. He was like, this might be the last game.
Yeah. This looks like a game that he would make. He's just like, you know, I'm gonna take all this Nintendo money and I'm gonna fucking put every single character in here and I'm out.
Yeah, well, I think, like, I mean, I don't want to be too negative, but I do have 2 concerns about this game. One, it's the title. It does suggest, like, what's after this. It's really like, we know there's going to be a new console after the Switch. Nintendo are not going to just say, right, we're done and dusted. So there is going to be a new console, and that pretty much every console gets a Mario Kart, gets a Smash Bros, gets a Mario game. You know, there's like staples. And I think Smash Bros, it's not like a crazy best-selling game for them, but it's pretty consistent. But my other concern is that if you remember, like, when they released it on the Wii U, there was that one Nintendo Direct where it was like, it's a 5-player multiplayer, and then it's a 6-player, it's a 7, it's an 8, and you kind of go, oh my god, 8 players and online. But the online was really touch and go. It was really inconsistent. And they need, if they can get that online experience down on this version, I think that this would be an incredible game. But if it really doesn't do well online, then for me it's just going to become another like commuter game where I'll play it for 15 minutes, then put it away.
Yeah, good point. I have to assume that they'll have the online down. Like, I don't know, how many years have they had now?
You know, if Smash Brothers Wii U was nothing, it was at least a lesson in how to sort of get all these systems going. So I have to imagine that the online is going to be, you know, rock solid. But you have to, I mean, I'm trying to think what other, because when this comes out, it's going to be big. And there's going to be a lot of people online at once. And I'm just trying to think, do they have another game on the Switch that has like the multiplayer traffic that this game is going to generate online? And I mean, the only one I can think of is maybe Mario Kart 8.
Yeah.
Is probably the one game that might have like, well, I guess they have Fortnite now. So no, it'll be fine because they probably bought a warehouse full of servers just for Fortnite.
But yeah, even with Mario Kart, because that's an older game, by the time Smash comes out, it's been a year and a half since Mario Kart was released, so I don't think there's a whole lot of people playing it online anymore. Well, Splatoon is huge in Japan.
Yeah.
It's interesting, like, I saw some data, and, like, the peak was, the game has sold over 2 million copies in Japan, and the peak was, like, 200,000 or 400,000 players playing at the same time, while in Europe and in America, the peak has been like, I don't know, maybe 30,000, 40,000 people.
But I think that's fine. That tells me at least that they have the experience and they know how to handle significant online traffic.
And also, I'm sure that what they will do, like they have now done with Splatoon, ARMS, and Mario Tennis, that there's gonna be like an online demo for them to like test the servers.
Yeah, to gauge interest and see how many people are gonna get on.
Yeah. Were there any ARMS characters in Smash?
No.
Yeah, that's because ARMS is terrible.
But yeah, no, I'm excited about this. I think it's gonna be interesting, and I'm looking forward to, you know, fighting Cloud against Ice Climbers and Daisy against Little Mac or something like that.
That's really what it comes down to for me too. Yeah. It's like, the game's good. Mechanically, it's way deeper than it might appear to be, as evidenced by the fact that we have this, you know, this competitive community. Mm-hmm. But really, it's all about pitting Solid Snake against Sonic. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, there's just so many different permutations of, like, classic character against classic character. I like, to me, that's what it's all about.
It all goes back to that original commercial with those guys dressed as Donkey Kong and Yoshi and Pikachu and Mario beating the crap out of each other in that field. That's what we wanted back then. That's what we want now.
Yep. All right, well, like, I think are we done with Nintendo? Does anybody else have anything they want to add here?
Nope.
Overall, impressed. It was better than I thought it was going to be, especially because I don't think Nintendo puts as much effort into E3 as other big first party developers, because they have these Nintendo Directs all the time. They have them, you know, every few months. But despite that, I think they had a pretty good showing, you know, at least in the stuff that we talked about.
And I would say that Nintendo's approach is quite interesting compared to like the third parties and Sony and Microsoft, because they were they had two 2019 games, but mainly I mean they really did focus on games that are coming out this year. Yep. So it doesn't feel like it, even like if games like Smash they were games that had been announced previously, but it still feels fresh because we just, like, this was the first E3 for these games, and, you know, a year from now, we won't be seeing these games at E3 unless there's, you know, some Smash DLC character announcements. Yep. But it felt like, and I guess we will move on to Sony next, but for example, Sony and their list of games, I feel like I've seen these games for, you know, the last 2 or 3 E3s already. So a lot of these companies kinda, like, I understand that they have to announce games to generate hype, but a lot of times I feel like games get announced like way too early.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean,
probably go ahead.
No, Jeff. Sorry. Yeah, I was just going to say, like, that's kind of like what I've got down in one of my big notes is just that, you know, I think Naughty Dog are quite bad for it. Like we've known about The Last of Us 2 for so many years now. It's like this E3. I know we're going to talk about it, but I try to ignore it because it's just like, I'm tired of this. Either give me the game or, you know, stop talking about it now. But that's where Nintendo are really good. It's like, I think they teased Metroid Prime last year, but they obviously have nothing to show. And if they've got nothing to show, they're not going to put something out that is clearly not the finished or close to the finished product. So that's where it's like fair play to them, you know?
Yeah.
Reggie actually even mentioned that. He said that, okay, so Metroid Prime 4 isn't here because it's not fair to tease these games like all the time. Mm-hmm. And he was like, we will show it like when it's ready to be shown.
Yeah. And I mean, they say a lot by not saying anything, right? The fact they didn't show Metroid Prime 4 lets you know it's either coming late 2019 or into 2020. So that's really all you need to know.
And that's fine. I mean, there's more than enough content out there to satiate the masses until Metroid Prime 4. I'm not fussed. I heard some griping from people who were hoping to see it, and it's going to take forever, and the lineup is pretty thin. But I don't know. I don't see that at all, personally.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we see it towards the end of the Switch life cycle. I really wouldn't be surprised, but that doesn't bother me.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it'll come eventually. They've announced it. It's just a matter of when. I'm good with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, speaking of The Last of Us 2, Geoff, I know you're tired and you don't want to talk about The Last of Us 2, but we kind of have to touch on it. I saw the trailer at E3, and I think out of all the trailers that were playing on Sony's main screen, that one got the largest crowd reaction every time it came up. Yeah. And I don't know, it looks amazing. What else can I say, right?
Like that's what I was gonna say. I mean, truly a showcase of the graphical power of the PS4, at its best. Like, where can we really go from here? The little bit of gameplay they did show looked really cool. It'll probably not look as cool when I'm playing it because I'm not that good.
It does look suspiciously fluid, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. But I mean, that's what the trailers are for.
Yeah, of course.
But I really liked that they showed, within that one sort of segment, they showed probably most of what you're going to be doing, right? Sneaking, fighting, crafting, killing. And that's really all I needed to know is, who am I going to be playing as? What's the sort of scenario? I like that they didn't give away a lot of story in the trailer, because I hate that. I hate when...
Oh, dude, drives me nuts.
When I already know half of the story before I even boot up the game. So I like that it was just, here's a cool fight scene, just to set up what's going to be happening. So I really liked it. I also found it really interesting that they didn't show... All the people that were in the trailer were humans. There wasn't... any sort of... I thought they were going to go back to the well of the, sort of parasite-y, supernatural sort of, sci-fi sort of stuff. But I guess we'll find out when we actually play it.
Yeah, it feels far more about, human survival now. In terms of, the ones that... the first game kind of alluded to it quite heavily, but the real threat was always the humans. Yeah. Fellow humans. They were the ones that you really, because they were, smarter, but that felt like the guys who were left, who were hunting you down, were far more dangerous than a clicker.
Yeah.
But I gotta say, one thing, it's like what Arnie mentioned is that, the gameplay looked a bit too fluid, and I actually felt the same way about most of these, Sony, exclusives. I was watching Spider-Man and Ghost of Tsushima, and I was like, I really couldn't tell if those games were easy or are they gonna be difficult. Well, especially the Ghost, I was like, okay, so is this difficulty-wise? Is this gonna be like the Soulsborne games or Ninja Gaiden? I was like, it looks amazing, but if it's gonna be one of those super difficult games, then I might just skip it.
No, so it's funny that you mentioned that because I don't know where I heard. That's, essentially I'd heard that From Software was making a sort of more Japanese-inspired game. And I thought it was Ghost of Tsushima, but it's not. It's the Microsoft game that we'll talk about later, Sekiro. So this is Sucker Punch. This is, I think, Infamous developer. So I guess it's more of an open-world game set in a Japanese island of Tsushima during the Mongolian invasion at some point in history. But yeah, so this is not like one of these super hard Souls type games.
Yeah, but the game looks amazing. But there was one thing that was really bothering me, and it wasn't in Japanese.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You know what? I hadn't even noticed that. But that's a really good point. Yeah, I think I would rather have it in Japanese with subtitles.
Yeah. That was a big. Apparently, that's a big complaint that people have. People want a Japanese audio option.
Yeah.
Which is
and they should have it.
Yeah.
I've already forgotten. Were the voices in that trailer were they just like straight up English, like I'm talking now, with just a hint of Canada, or was it like, you know, the semi-racist Japanese accent, like white actor Japanese accent?
Yeah. I think there was, you know, maybe some tinge. I could see it. I don't know who voices the characters, but it didn't seem over the top, like super Japanese, like Japanese caricature, but it was, you know, pretty much just regular English.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, at least they got that much right.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, obviously we can't have we can't have actors doing Japanese accents and speaking English. That's just not gonna fly. The other thing I found weird about it, and I don't know, like, okay, overall, Ghost of Tsushima, like that trailer looked really cool. I was not expecting it at all. I had no idea it was in development and so on. I don't know, was there something wrong with the faces, or was it just me? You can say it's just me.
No, they're not. They're not up to
anything.
standard. Like when you see like a Naughty Dog game, they're not. It did feel like a little bit not as finished, maybe.
Yeah.
They looked. I don't know. They looked like a little. I don't know, wooden to me, maybe. But I found it mildly distracting.
Yeah, I didn't notice anything, but I wouldn't doubt that, you know, this isn't as good as something like Detroit Become Human or, you know, Naughty Dog's Last of Us or something like that. But I mean, the game
overall, I would say that the visual style is really cool in that game.
Yeah, the game is gorgeous. I really like the sort of open world nature of it. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, like you, Paul, no idea what this was. Saw the trailer. You know, cautiously optimistic, as I like to say. I agree with Masa that, you know, the gameplay, there wasn't a ton of it to be had. So I'd like to wait and see a little bit more of that before I sort of go into it.
So another thing I learned at E3, it was a very educational trip. Another thing that I learned, dude, people love Resident Evil 2.
Oh my god, I can't wait. Oh my god.
Everybody loves Resident Evil 2. It was surprising to me because I didn't realize that there was this much love for this particular Resident Evil.
Me neither.
Yeah, because like this is my favorite Resident Evil, and I've been waiting for this remake since they remade the first one on the GameCube. I've been like, okay, Resident Evil 1 done. Now where's Resident Evil 2? Give me the remake. Yeah, and
Resident Evil 2 specifically has really gotten the shaft in terms of remakes. Even on the PS4, they remade, what did they remake? 0, 1, 4, Revelations. I think Revelations 2, maybe. So pretty much they went around this and 3, I feel like, get no sort of recognition a lot of the time from Capcom.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it is quite strange, but when you look at what they've done with 2, it's like if people buy this, then I can imagine they're going to go straight on to 3. Yeah. But I mean, for me, I don't mind that it kind of looks like it plays like Resident Evil 4. So you've got the over the shoulder camera, but just seeing like the police station, but just seeing slight tweaks on the original game, it gets me really excited because it's one of those things where like it's that comfortable game that, okay, I know in general where I need to go and when, but looks like it's gonna change things up slightly, so it's gonna feel like a new game almost. And I mean, like graphically it looks incredible. Again, you got to be careful sometimes whether like these demos are really the finished product, but it's I mean, I've just spent the weekend playing Resident Evil 7. And like graphically that was really impressive, so I can't imagine it's going to look any worse than what we just saw. But this is like top of my list.
Damn, man. Yeah, I just had no idea. Although I did wonder after watching the trailer how people would react to the change in gameplay, you know, so that, because it does look more like RE4, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know, is that a welcome change?
Well, I think Resident Evil 4 is the best-selling Resident Evil. It seems to like be genuinely agreed that it hit that balance right between gameplay and aesthetics. So I think most people are going to like happily adopt that, but it is a change from the first person. I prefer personally the over the shoulder to first person now. So for me, I think people will take to it.
Cool. Well, I mean, it was definitely a sort of a pleasant surprise for me anyway. Like, I mean, I enjoyed Resident Evil 2. I don't have the same kind of passion for it that many of the other fans do, but it was a welcome addition, and it was huge at the show, let me tell you. We'll probably like do a quick Squaresoft thing after, but I put Kingdom Hearts 3 in my Sony section on our list here. Do any of you care about Kingdom Hearts? Kingdom Hearts for me like is not quite Pokemon level where I don't acknowledge that it exists, but I never really got into Kingdom Hearts. I tried the first one, I played it for 3-4 hours, and I was like, all right, I'm good.
I played through the first one at the insistence of a friend of mine who loves Kingdom Hearts. It was all right. I still need to play through the second one. My thing with Kingdom Hearts is sort of like Geoff with Last of Us 2. I'm tired of it. I don't want to hear about it anymore. Like, until the game comes out, I don't care. I don't, because they've been talking about it and talking about it and talking about it for years. I mean, honestly, I really do feel kind of bad for some Kingdom Hearts fans, because it just seems like Square Enix is just gouging as much money as they can from them. They've put out so many re-releases, remakes, remixes. It's insane.
By the way, with the worst titles ever. Like, what is this fucking 2.8 remix? Like, are you kidding me?
Remix, final mix, ultimate.
Like, zero fucks given about luring new people in.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, because, I mean, I see a title like that, and as someone who hasn't played these games, I'm like,
where do you start?
No way.
Yeah. So,
like, I've been wanting to get into the franchise. I also like played the first game back in the day on the PS2.
yeah.
But then, yeah, it's so confusing, and I know that there's lots of spin-offs, except that according to fans, they aren't even like spin-offs, so to say, because they actually continue the story from
they are
1 and 2.
required
So
reading.
it's like, you have to play them. Like, you can't just go from 2 to 3. You have to play all the like 3DS and mobile games and whatever. Like, they have like so many games, and of course, that naming thing on these collections. Yeah, I don't know. But that being said, I am looking forward to like the third game. It looks great. I don't know. Some of the worlds, like, I'm not super excited about like Frozen being included. I mean, Toy Story is cool, yeah, sure, but like fucking Frozen.
Frozen. They got Tangled. They got Toy Story now in there. So,
see, I thought Frozen would be like a huge addition to it.
I think it is. I don't know if Kingdom Hearts fans are excited, but I mean, for Disney fans, I mean, Frozen was huge. I don't know. I tend to agree with Masa. I don't think it fits as well as some others. But you got the license. Use it, right?
Yeah.
What's the harm in putting some more stuff in there? As long as it's not terrible, obviously. But it's just I've had it. I've until it comes out, I don't care. I think the only good thing, now that Masa's mentioned it, to come out of the 2.8 final remix versions of all these is that they brought the portable games onto console.
Yeah.
So there is now an easier way to sort of play through all the games without having to,
But yeah, apparently they, when it comes to at least like some of those mobile games and portable games, they actually only included like the cutscenes from those.
Yes. Some of them are just movies. So you can watch, and even just the cutscenes, I think it's still like, it's not like a feature length motion picture. It's like 4 or 5 hours of cutscenes and stuff. Like, it's a lot.
Man.
Yeah. Cause it's like it's not like, it's every single, like, essential piece of dialogue, I think, from my understanding, in the game. So it's, like, stuff you have to click through, and it's not like you sit back and just watch it.
Well,
this started to sound a lot worse.
Yeah.
But yeah, this started to sound a lot worse than, like, Yakuza. And, I mean, of course, I had to name drop Yakuza at least once for every episode. But it's like, I feel like, yeah, I want to play Kingdom Hearts 3, but I've only played 1, and now it's like I have to watch like 5-hour-long movies, play a million other games, and it's, I don't know, so overwhelming, because at least with Yakuza, a lot of these games are like self-contained, they're like basically like standalone releases, or like story-wise, they're standalone, so you can start with like 6, or you can start with Kiwami. But yeah, I feel like with Kingdom Hearts, I'm like, I was excited about that game before we started talking about it, but now I'm a bit like, yeah, maybe not. I'm not ready to commit to this.
No, I think for me, this one is, at least for me, it's a happy skip. There's, like I said earlier, there's too many games out there, obviously. So, I'm glad to see one that looks great, that makes people happy, and that I won't lose any sleep over not playing.
Yeah. That's what I was going to say. Good for all these Kingdom Hearts fans who have stuck around this long. They finally got it, because this must have been torture for somebody who's been like wanting this for so long.
Yeah.
Speaking of torture, yeah, I know. I'm not going too far. Don't worry. But the one thing that Square Enix really disappointed me with this time was no Final Fantasy VII. That hurt me as a really big fan.
Yeah. Hey, now that Kingdom Hearts 3 is coming out, like I'm sure that Final Fantasy VII Remake will be the new Kingdom Hearts or the new Final Fantasy 15.
Dude, 100%.
Like, see you in like 10 years.
Yeah. It's in development hell, isn't it? I think.
Yeah. Well, no, they had an article where I think it's the director of Kingdom Hearts 3 is also the director of the Final Fantasy VII Remake. So he's like, it's in development. We haven't forgotten about it. Once Kingdom Hearts 3 comes out, we're going to put more, focus on the Final Fantasy VII Remake. And I think it's a little bit of what we talked about with teasing these games so early, is that you get the initial hype, but if you take this long, by the time it comes out, people are burnt out, like I've seen so many people be like, I was really excited about it, and now I've waited this long being excited about it, not hearing anything, so I don't care anymore.
But I'm really big into my anime, and I remember like in Japan, maybe it's more of a cultural thing, but the amount of times that they've teased a live action Evangelion movie and it never came to fruition. They just kept teasing it for like probably a good 10 years, and it just seems to be something that like they love to kind of show you, look at all this great work and projects we've got going on, but in the background there's probably people in the teams in the office going, wait a minute, but we haven't even started on this. What are you, it's a bit like when you're at your normal job, when your manager starts promising things and you think, wait a minute, no, we haven't got the resources for this yet. What are you doing? But too late, the cat's out of the bag.
But yeah, they gotta have some material for those investor meetings when people are like, yeah, what are you working on? Well, we have this, and then, you never heard from them.
Yeah, exactly.
And on the bright side, a live action Evangelion movie probably would have been terrible.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Just like the live Fist of the North Star movie, and
Yeah, exactly.
Speaking of which,
I know, right?
Also announced. Yes, the
yeah.
Western version. The Fist of North Star is coming to Europe and the US in October.
Yeah, legitimately excited about that one.
I couldn't believe I saw it. Like when I saw it come up on the screen over in the Sony pavilion, I was shocked. Yeah, I was like really taken aback.
Yakuza has opened the floodgates for any of that stuff coming over. They're just like, put it all in. We don't even have to translate anything. Just throw it out there.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's great.
But what was really shocking about Feast of North Star is that they actually, of course, there's dual audio, but it's dubbed in English.
Yeah.
You have Japanese audio too. Yeah.
Oh.
That's insane. Like when I was watching the trailer, I was like, wait, is that English? Like what the hell is going on?
Good on them. But I do actually want to talk about this next thing that you got on your list, Paul.
Yeah, jump in.
Basically, my thoughts on Death Stranding are Masa's thoughts on Ninjala. I don't know what it is. I'm very confused. And so I don't know if I'm excited for it.
You know what it is? It's the most epic looking walking simulator.
I was going to say, honestly, based on this trailer, my idea of Death Stranding is like being Norman Reedus carrying shit around places. Like, that's all I know about. And eventually having like a gun for like a second.
It's one of those things where the more you see, the more confused you get.
But I don't think that's a good move on their part, because I think there's only so long that you can ride sort of that hype train of like, oh shit, it's like weird Kojima stuff. Oh my god, it's a fetus inside of Norman Reedus. What the fuck? Until I'm just like, I need to know what the fuck this game is. Like, I'm not gonna buy it if I don't know what it is.
Yeah, but they got to be so careful. They got to be so careful.
Yeah.
And at this point, there's really nothing separating these games graphically, right?
Yeah.
Like, we've reached the point now where every realistic or every game that aims for realism looks like every other game that aims for realism, with some minor differences in quality here or there.
Yeah.
So, like, when I see Death Stranding, it doesn't look a hell of a lot different from The Last of Us. It doesn't look a hell of a lot different from Resident Evil 2. Like, the tone is obviously different for all these games, but graphically there's nothing really separating it.
Yeah, and I think that's where, like, Kojima games in the past, you knew, like, I remember the demo for Metal Gear Solid 2, it was like, holy shit, this is unreal. Whereas now, yeah, you're right, it's like, okay, great, it's Kojima, so the story's going to be messed up, and you're just going to be confused half the time, and you're going to need to go to a wiki on the internet to understand what the hell's going on. You know, it's... Yeah.
But at least
I actually watched...
Oh, sorry, Masa, go ahead.
Sorry.
No, it's fine, go ahead.
I actually watched all these, like, big Sony trailers back to back right before we started recording, and I was like, hey, The Last of Us, that looks really amazing. Then I was like, The Ghost of Tsushima, yeah, that looks really amazing. And then I made it to, like, Death Stranding and Spider-Man, and I was like, yeah, I mean, these look really amazing again, but... Then I was like, yeah, I mean, basically, like, all these games, like, they are on the same level graphically, and they just comes down to, like, art style.
Yeah, and in that regard, Death Stranding, like, I don't know, I wasn't that impressed.
Not my favorite.
No.
But, and I think, part of it is, I think, at least with Metal Gear, like, I think Kojima could afford to do stuff like this, because... there have been other Metal Gear Solid games. Like, we've played them before. We know that we like them. Like, just give me the thing. But with this, it's like, I've never played this before. I have no idea what this is going to play like. I have no idea what's going on. So at some point, you need to show me something that makes sense.
Yeah. And also, like, did they give any kind of release date for it? Or was it just a bunch of nothing?
No.
But one thing I'm worried about, like, I actually talked about it with my friend who's a huge Kojima fan, and we were like, yeah, I mean, when Kojima was still at Konami, like, I'm sure that, you know, the Konami people were kind of like holding him back in a good way.
Absolutely.
But now that he can do whatever he wants, maybe he's gonna, you know, go a bit too crazy with Death Stranding.
It's possible. Like, I mean, I have faith. I haven't been let down by him over the years. He's a genius, right? I don't think there's really any debate there. But yeah, like, it definitely helps to have someone, you know, reining in the genius, and making things a little bit more appealing to the masses. I guess, what can I say? I guess we'll see. Like, I mean, it's got his name on it, so like, I'm super interested.
Yeah.
But other than his name being on it, it just looks like every other game.
It's a really tricky one, because when him and Konami split, most of the people were on his side, right? It's like Konami's name was already kind of dropping, and they were only focusing on iOS games or pachinko machines in Japan. It's like, what's going on at the Konami? Still nobody really knows what's going on over there. But it's like, now I think it's a case of he's been allowed ultimate freedom, and sometimes when you let creative people not be checked, you just end up with these vanity projects, and it's like, that's my fear of where this has gone. But until we play it, until you're playing it, you know, on your PS4, we don't know. And its thing is like, I don't think he's been held to account by anybody. So it's like you'd still need somebody to kind of need to be held account for, for these things. So we'll see.
Yeah, you can ask KG Inafune about Vanity Projects and how Mighty Number 9 worked out.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm not saying this is going to be that, but and I hope it's not, because I do like Hideo Kojima. But I need something. Give me something.
Yeah, I agree. Especially because it's been, I don't know, I've heard about this game for long enough now.
Yeah.
But anyhow, Spider-Man had a playable demo at E3. As with every other playable demo, I tried to line up, but the line was closed.
Yeah.
So I didn't actually get to try it. I did, however, get some great viewpoints over the shoulder of other people happily playing. What can I say? Like, what do you guys think of this? I'll give you my thoughts after.
It's basically Arkham Asylum with a character who's a lot more acrobatic and mobile. I think it's going to be good. It's probably not a day one buy for me, but I'll pick it up eventually. Based on what I saw gameplay wise, it looked pretty cool. Up until did you guys see the trailer where they do the shocker fight?
I did not see that.
Okay. So that boss fight looked terrible. It was literally the guy just swinging around in a circle, waiting for him to shoot 3 times, and then activate a shield, and then you smash him with a rock and you hit him. And he must have done it like 3-4 times. And then it's a second phase where you sort of do the same thing. There's a third phase where you just drop a thing on him and it's done. That did not look very entertaining. Even that was the one trailer that I was like, this is definitely like straight up gameplay, because this does not look very fluid or like interesting. But all the fights, like the web swinging around the city, like look super cool. The fighting like thugs in like alleyways and using your different web powers looked really, really cool. Shades of the Spider-Man game that everybody always talks about, Spider-Man 2 on PS2, I think. That's the one that everybody always goes to as like, this is the best Spider-Man game because it had the best web swinging mechanic, and I think this one does a really good job of that, so it's probably going to be really fun.
I actually didn't see the web swinging at all while I was there. The playable demo that they had was just like a level where you're just beating dudes up.
Okay.
So it actually made me less excited for the game, because like
that's not what
when I think Spider-Man, what's that, Geoff?
Oh, sorry. I was saying that's not what you want to see when you want to see a Spider-Man game.
Yeah, exactly. Like because when I think Spider-Man, look, I can play any number of games where I beat up dudes, right? That's fine. But what Spider-Man brings to the table is the potential to swing from web to web in a city, between buildings, and have that kind of feeling of freedom almost, right? Where you're almost flying, but not quite. It's very uniquely Spider-Man. I didn't see that at all. I didn't watch the trailer because I saw the gameplay demos, and I'm like, the gameplay demos actually turned me off. Because, no, for real though, right? Because like I see people, I see people controlling Spider-Man and using him to beat up thugs, and it looks pretty stylish, but it's nothing that A, I haven't seen before, and B, that I actually wanted to see from that game. So, like, for you guys who saw the trailer, was there very much of that really cool kind of web swinging between buildings that we hoped for?
Yeah, there was actually quite a bit of that, and I think the 8-minute gameplay trailer, it was like mainly just that. I would say the game looks good, but I don't think it's a day one purchase. I'm actually a big fan of Marvel movies, and I've been a bit bummed out that we haven't really gotten like any decent Marvel games during the past, I don't know, decade.
Yeah, they're kind of like the opposite of DC, right? Yeah. DC makes the good games, Marvel makes the good movies.
Yeah. But I mean, the game does look nice, and I will probably pick it up at some point when it's like 15 euros. But yeah, I don't know. I'm still sort of excited about it, but yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic, like Arnie would say.
Yeah, not a day one purchase for me. I guess we'll see what happens. Like, I mean, look, at this point, it certainly looks good. If the web swinging is a nice mechanic, it'll probably be reviewed really well.
Yeah.
Personally, I'm not a big enough Spider-Man geek to be like really excited and get it on the first day.
Spider-Man does whatever a spider can. Spins a web any size, catches thieves just like flies. Look out, here comes the Spider-Man. Is he strong? Listen, bud, he's got radioactive blood. Can he swing from a thread? Take a look overhead. Hey there goes the Spider-Man. In the gym.
Microsoft time.
Yeah, no kidding.
This will probably be the shortest segment of this entire episode.
Oh man,
Yep.
like, god damn it, Microsoft. Like, all I want from Microsoft is exclusives.
Yep.
And like no dumb decisions. And I'll tell you, man, when I was at E3, Microsoft was in a completely different building.
Really?
Like the convention center, there was like a South Hall and a West Hall. And that's where virtually everybody was, right? In one of those halls, whether it was Nintendo, Bethesda, whatever. To go see Microsoft's, contribution, you had to like walk a couple of blocks and then line up to get into a different building. Literally line up.
Oh, wow.
I mean, the last thing I wanted to do that day was fucking line up. And that's what I ended up doing in order to get into Microsoft's building.
Yeah.
So, right off the bat, I'm like, you guys. And when I got in there, I mean, it was kind of the same thing, really, that I saw everywhere else. I didn't see a playable demo of Halo Infinite. I saw a lot of Sea of Thieves. They had playable demos of Soul Calibur 6 with, frankly, shorter lineups, which was great. But yeah, like, at this point, is anybody excited for Halo?
Nope.
This trailer didn't do anything for me. I can assume, much like I was talking about before, I've played a Halo game before. I can assume what the gameplay is going to be like. It's just going to look better. But I don't. It's I don't even have I can't form like adjectives for this. I'm sure people who like Halo are gonna dig it, and I'm sure it's gonna be a competent, well-made shooter. But it doesn't do it for me. I don't have any interest, honestly.
So here's a question for you.
Yeah.
So Halo 3 gets released, 10 years ago or what have you.
Yes.
Gigantic, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Let's say that there's a universe where no other Halo game gets released until now, and Halo Infinite is known as Halo 4.
Oof.
How excited are we on a scale of 1 to 10?
Oh, I mean, a lot
It's like
more
it's
than
10, right?
Yeah,
10.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Come on, guys.
Yeah.
You don't have to release, just give us something new. You don't have to release the same thing over and over. I understand that by releasing Halo sequels on a semi-regular basis, you might be making more money.
Yeah.
But that IP is, I'm not going to say it's worthless, but man, if they had just waited a little bit longer, that IP would be so valuable right now if they had that long-awaited sequel.
They burned a lot of goodwill on a lot of these. Honestly, the one that seemed... it's funny that you say that, and this will be quick, but of all the, side Halo releases and all that, the only one that ever, really even registered on my radar was Halo Wars, because it was, the console RTS version of Halo, and I was like, oh, this is, something new. It's not the same sort of thing over and over again. But everything else has just been, over my head for years now.
Yeah.
But isn't that Microsoft big, one of their biggest issues, when it comes to their first party franchise? You have Halo, you have Forza, you have Gears of War, and I would say compared to Sony and Nintendo, they have the worst first party titles in a way that, and with a lot of these I'm not saying that these are bad games, but they are the kind of games that never really surprise. I know what the next Halo game will be like. I know what Gears 5 will be like.
Yeah.
But with a lot of these other games, okay, so maybe Sony with the Naughty Dog games, they're all fairly similar. But a lot of time, like, you don't really know what they are, coming up with.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you're not getting a new Last of Us every year.
Yeah.
Right? That's kind of the bottom line is like Naughty Dog has these different IPs that they work on and they release them, on a welcome basis. It's not that we're getting oversaturated. Like I saw at the show, I saw huge, sections devoted to Call of Duty Black Ops. I think it was Black Ops 3.
No, Black Ops 4.
Man, oh man, my interest just could not be lower.
Yeah.
Yeah, but those are the games that make the money, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, that's you got to play to your fans, right? And that's going to be a large chunk of Xbox users are going to pick this up. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think a lot of I think that a lot of Microsoft fans are really happy, and I mean they did have an impressive lineup of games, but the problem is that these exclusives outside of Battletoads, which I'm really excited about, but
I know, right?
Yeah, I mean, 4K, hand-drawn animated graphics, I mean that's gonna be amazing, but I mean I'm sure that Microsoft fans are really happy, but then like one interesting comment that I saw online was that. Yeah, that was great. Like the lineup of games was great, but it was basically my PS4 shopping list.
Yes,
yeah, I saw that.
Because they had lots of third parties, but I think most people are gonna pick them up on the PS4.
Yeah. That's unfortunately been the situation over at Microsoft for the past couple of years now. Is like I see all the games released on the Xbox One, and I mean, maybe because of the Xbox One X, they might have a leg up, at least in some way, in that all the games will look better. But it's not enough for me to care personally. I mean, you have to have all the AV equipment in order to make use of it, right? Which not everybody has. To say one positive thing, though, about the hardware, I don't know if you guys saw that they have this... I think they're calling it Fast Play. Basically, it's kind of like an upgrade to various games where it just loads faster. It loads like twice as fast as it usually does. And boy, oh boy, like I was unreasonably excited for that. Like anything that gets my goddamn games to load faster, Jesus Christ, like I didn't realize just how much I hated how long it takes for games to load now. That when Microsoft says games are going to load twice as fast, I'm like, hell yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like that might be the most shocking thing about the Nintendo Switch. Like it was one of the first things I noticed when I first got it was that I pick up a controller, I press a button, and I'm playing immediately. No logos, no load times. Like, I'm there, I'm playing Zelda, and it takes, 0 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, that was a large part of my frustration with Xbox for a long time, especially in the 360 era, where at the beginning of it, they had a really nice, simple interface, and I felt like you could get into your game quite quickly. But then Microsoft just kept developing it, changing it, and you'd end up booting it up, kind of going, right, now where do I go to play my game? What am I doing here? And then in the end, the PS3 ended up being really simple. Just go to the disc icon and you go. Paul, back to your point around the franchises. I think Microsoft, this is that fine balance between keeping your IP relevant and keeping it fresh in people's minds, and oversaturating it. And it's like you get to that point where, say for 4 years in a row, you know about The Last of Us 2, and you're like, okay, I'm sick of it. But at the same time, if you're getting a Last of Us every single year and they're just getting more and more irrelevant and more, derivative and just the same thing over and over again, that's also equally bad. So finding that balance, and I think that's where Microsoft, like Endless Forzas and things like this, I think as a gamer, like where I will buy any machine as long as it gives me a great experience, I am not loyal to I'm not loyal to companies, But Microsoft have just, as I say, like the fans now seem to be really happy. A lot of the guys that I'm seeing on social media are like, they seem really excited to finally have a reason to have an Xbox. But I felt like that with the PS4 for the past 3 years. You know, it's like I've always been more than happy to have my PS4, and I felt like every year I'm getting something that justifies owning one. So like, great for them. But as someone who doesn't have an Xbox, I just saw the same old, and it's like getting me into Gears, getting me into Halo. It's like, you had me 10 years ago. That's when you had me. Halo 3, like you guys were saying, Halo 3 was an incredible experience. I will never forget some of the ending moments of that game. And Gears of War was the reason I bought an Xbox 360. So it's like, but they just haven't moved on. I really think that they're struggling to find what they're doing. I think this generation, they're kind of knocking on the head. And I think next generation, I think they need to get their act together.
Yeah. I suspect that in the next generation of consoles, they'll probably have a better idea of where they went wrong here. And one thing that interested me there as well, when I was looking at their presentation, they were, and I don't know. Okay, so I watched like truncated versions of all the press. You know, the ones that are on YouTube and they're edited for time, because I don't have time. So one thing I noticed that Microsoft was doing that the others perhaps were or were not, was that they were promoting the various teams making the games. So they're talking about the different studios that they've acquired. For example, and I've got on the list here, Ninja Theory, the team that made Hellblade, right? To me, that's a very, very big deal.
Yeah.
Because and would that not be kind of the way to go forward with promoting your games? Like, promote the team, have the team work on original IP, and then when you make your sequels, you make them every 3 or 4 years instead of every year, but you still have a lot more IP that you can draw on. Like, I would much rather hear about a game being made by this team than a sequel to this game. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I thought that was pretty interesting. Like, this team, this is what they've worked on. They're going to work on something for us. Okay. And we also acquired this team and they're going to work on something for us. That actually gets me interested.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
I don't know.
To that point, and this is pretty much the only thing I will say about Battletoads. Thank God that Rare has been pulled out of whatever Kinect hellhole that Microsoft had been keeping them in for years to finally make, like, a game. You know what I mean? Like,
by the way, Battletoads is not developed by Rare.
Is not?
No.
Well, at the very least, they use the logo, so that'll count in my book. They put it right there in the corner, so I was like, finally, the Rareware logo on something that's not, Kinect Adventures 73 or whatever it is. But who's
I gotta say,
it?
One thing about Xbox is that even though the event was very impressive, the lineup of games, but they also teased or mentioned that the next Xbox console is in, they are working on it.
Yeah.
So I'm a bit have they, because the biggest issue here has been the exclusive drought that they have had. There's not been enough exclusives, and it was kind of what happened to Nintendo with the Wii U, and then they pulled the plug really early on the Wii U, and then they moved a lot of these games to Switch, and then the Switch had an amazing first year.
Yeah.
But now I'm a bit Xbox One, it has I don't know, I think it's maybe at 40 million consoles sold, while the PS4 is at 80 million.
Yeah.
It has lost. So I'm a bit why are they even bothering with Halo and Gears of War? Shouldn't they just save those for the next console and have them as launch titles or year one titles? Because Xbox One, it's not gonna go anywhere at this point.
But you're burned either way, right?
Yeah.
If
you
you
gotta
don't
put something out.
You got to put something out, or you're going to alienate your existing user base, and then they're not going to buy your new console.
Yeah.
So, I see what you're saying. I think that, they want to be focusing on the next gen, and it would probably be a good idea for them to be, saving that heavy hitting IP for the next gen. But, you can't alienate your user base that exists right now.
Yeah, I think if you go for a whole period of pushing the Xbox One X and the graphical improvements and getting people to repurchase a console to then not give them the games for it, I think they would lose a lot of face.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, that's the Sega 32X, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I will say one positive thing about Microsoft, and I don't know if you guys have heard about this, but apparently this ties back to the whole Fortnite thing. Apparently when Nintendo released Fortnite on the Switch, Microsoft is doing cross-play with the Nintendo Switch as well as the PC, obviously, whereas Sony is not allowing cross-play on their machine. So good on Microsoft for at least.
And to make things even worse, it's that not only you like that you can't play with like the PS4 owners, but like if you have used your Epic account on the PS4, then it's gonna get blocked on the Switch.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So good on Microsoft for at least, putting forward the foot that I think everybody wants at this point. Is just cross-platform play. There's no reason to not do that.
I will say one thing about cross-platform play, though, especially for an FPS. I don't want to play against PC gamers on a console.
That is true.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Hell no.
I could see that. But I think, for me, it's just more of it's just the option. You know what I mean? Like, don't tell me I can't do something when I paid for your machine and I own this shit. Like, I went out of my way to like do all this. Like, just give me the option. If I want it, I'll do it. If I don't, then I won't.
I don't know, dude. I don't know. That's kind of a slippery slope in a way, because like, unless there's a way that you have the option of being segregated with other console users, like if you want to play against PC people, just because you want the option, that's a careful what you wish for thing. Because like, personally, I cannot see Fortnite being, or any FPS being fun when I'm using a controller against people with a mouse and keyboard. Like, I would actually rather just not have that option at all.
Yeah, I don't know. At least for me, it's always been something to where, especially for something like Fortnite, like I understand that, some people are really into it, want to be competitive and stuff like that. But say I'm Joey, what's his name? I'm 11 years old. My other friends have Fortnite. They play it on their PC, their, Xbox, their Switch. I have a PS4. I want to play with my friends. Why can't I play with my friends?
Yeah, good point. I forgot about little Joey Fortnite.
Yeah, exactly.
We have to think about him.
Think about the children, Paul.
Well, if we don't think of the children, who will?
All right. Anything else on Microsoft?
Sekiro looked really good.
Sekiro looked amazing, but I'm not a Souls guy. I don't want to do that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm not either.
Yeah.
But only because I just haven't played it. Like,
yeah.
I'm one of the few people who hasn't even really tried it, other than like a little flirtation with Dark Souls 3.
Yeah.
I can see myself liking that kind of game, and I think a game like Sekiro, even if it doesn't sell well, it's still good for their rep, right?
Yeah.
Like the fact that you have From Software working on this game, like that's pretty strong.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think you guys need to, when you finish here, go straight down to your local shop and pick up Dark Souls Remastered. I think you need to play it.
Yeah.
I think you might be right. Like, here's the thing, like do I have Dark Souls or Demon Souls? Yeah, I've got Dark Souls on the PS3, and I have a really hard time double dipping. But with that said, the PS3 one, I got it for like $10. I just haven't played it yet.
Yeah.
And so I don't think I can really feel too bad about picking up the remastered one on the Switch, given the advantages that the Switch offers for that game.
Yeah, I actually have the Switch version pre-ordered, but yeah, I mean, it got delayed, so yeah, and they haven't announced like when it's actually coming out, so I'm willing to give it a chance, but like, I'm not sure if it's my kind of game.
Well, Geoff, you think it's definitely like worthwhile, eh?
Oh, this looks incredible. I think. I love Dark Souls. that's right up my alley. I mean, I don't profess to be great at them, but I always at least complete them once. I never make it through a New Game Plus because it gets really tough.
Yeah.
But I do love games that push that. I don't want to sound condescending in any way, but I love games that push me as a gamer. Like, it forces me to get good at it. It's like, I just played through Persona 5, and it was fun, but it wasn't really, really difficult. It didn't really test me. Once I learned the mechanics, I was down. Whereas Dark Souls, it pushes you and it makes you good. And it's like, that's what I love about From Software games. And so that's why for this one, it's something that I don't even need to see that much gameplay. If I know they're developing a game, I'm already interested. It's a no-brainer. But I think it's great that they are trying a new franchise. I was hoping for a Bloodborne 2, because Bloodborne that's an incredible game as well. But this looks like a really good blend, like, of the two games. So you got the quick movement of Bloodborne, but then you've got like the heavy combat skills that you need when you play Dark Souls. So that combination of that, and then you add in that grappling hook, which kind of really varies up like the vertical aspect, which you never really get in a Dark Souls game. The setting, I mean, I'm all over Japanese lore and like history. It just seems to be like too good to be true almost. If you love a Dark Souls game.
Yeah.
Well, I'm pretty interested to see how the development goes and how the reception it goes. Like, it's one of the more interesting games that I saw at the show.
Yeah.
So I know that we're not all like big racing fans. Geoff, actually, I'm not sure. Racing games, yes, no?
No, not in the last generation.
Yeah. I mean, from what they showed of Forza Horizon 4, like, obviously it looks really good. Racing games graphically always look incredible. And Forza Horizon 4, I don't know if you guys paid much attention to it. It's almost like an open world game, but racing. Yeah. So you can like drive around and challenge people and so on and so forth. Is that what we want from our racing games, or do we just kind of want to race?
I thought that was wasn't that the Need for Speed approach that we were talking about?
It was, yes.
Not great.
Yeah.
Well, I think was it Burnout Paradise? That was open world, and that did really well.
Yeah.
But Burnout is a very different game than Forza, so.
Yeah, I tend to lean towards you, Paul. If I'm gonna play a racing game, just let me race. I don't need to. I love open world stuff. I do not need it in a game like this. I'd much rather just be like race, move me along to the next thing.
Yeah. And speaking of racing and E3, I gotta say, E3 got me super hyped for potentially, and look, it's never gonna happen, let's be honest. My house does not have the room for it, but maybe it could, is like an actual racing rig.
Like a sit down, like bucket seat driving wheel combo, steering wheel combo. Yeah.
Like the Thrustmaster booth had one.
Oh, really?
There were a lot of booths that had one. Don't get me wrong, like, I didn't actually get to play because all the lines were closed.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've mentioned that yet, but like, man, oh man, it looks really, really cool to just, be able to sit in one of those and play your favorite racing game.
Absolutely.
I actually looked up prices yesterday, just out of curiosity, because I was telling a coworker of mine about the show, and some of the rigs they had like the hydraulics underneath that make you turn whenever you turn the wheel and so on. And I looked up some of the prices. Holy shit, man! Like,
that's got to be a few grand,
dude. Like between 30 and 60 US.
Jesus.
I know.
What the fuck?
I know, right?
Bro, you better be playing Gran Turismo every fucking day.
Wow.
I couldn't believe it. I was shocked. The on the bright side, though, for those of you who want to or want to dip your toes in those kind of waters, there are much more affordable options that don't have the hydraulics underneath. Like it's a super tempting thing to get into. I mean, I like driving just in general, and I have to admit, going to that show got me pretty hyped for the potential of owning one of these things that I never will, but maybe.
Could you imagine, like, having that setup and then doing, like, VR?
Oh, yeah. Oh, they had it there.
Oh,
yeah.
is that... Oh, that's like, complete immersion. That's the one where you, like, have a heart attack as you crash because you think you're crashing in real life.
Oh, man. The Thrustmaster booth had... they had VR flight simulating, which was also really cool. And there was definitely some, I can't remember which booth it was. It's not important, I suppose. They definitely had some kind of VR racing deal going on.
Oh, wow.
And that also looked really cool, I gotta say.
Nice.
Yeah, I gotta say, that's like one of the most, like, I don't really get the appeal of that because, I mean, if I want to drive a car, I'm just gonna, drive a real car. Like, there's like so many like way cooler things to do, like with VR, like, I don't know, like we can't fly, but like make me fly in a VR game. That would be cool, but like if I want to drive a car, I'm just gonna, hop on my own car.
Yeah, I get like, my brother's a complete petrol head, so my brother absolutely loves watching motorsport. So for him, he has one of these steering wheels with the pedals. He doesn't have a seat that moves or anything. But for him, like he owns a Audi A4, so yeah, a nice family car.
Oh wow!
But it's like he's never going to be able to drive a Lamborghini or a Ferrari. I mean, you can probably do those test days when you go around the track, pay a few hundred pounds or euros or whatever, and you can drive a Ferrari for an hour, or maybe less than that, probably 10 minutes. But then to have that, like, be a Formula One, right, racer or NASCAR or whatever you want to do, I really see the appeal. Like, I really do see it. But I'm kind of on that side. Like, car for me is something that's functional. So it's not too much of an interest. But I could, the guys who love Gran Turismo and Forza, that would be, I can understand why they get excited. But yeah, who can afford these setups? who can afford this stuff?
Oh man, I could save up. I could teach myself how. Yeah. But not the $30,000 one. The $30,000 one is like
when you finally retire, then you will be able to afford one.
You'll be able to play it.
Oh man, dude. You know what else was funny? Is I was just reading some articles on like which kind of racing rig you should buy and so on and so forth. And they were talking about like hydration and how, you don't necessarily want your water bottle on the floor next to your rig. You should have like a hose set up that goes right to your mouth. I'm like, oh my God, these guys are like so hardcore.
All right.
So
Dragon Quest time.
Yes. Well, yes. Dragon Quest.
What about The Quiet Man? The most ridiculous looking game of E3.
It really was.
Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, the one that's mixing like live action and then, like the fighting scenes are.
That was really weird. Like when the trailer started, I was like, wait a second. This is like...
I was like, is this a commercial?
It was like... I was on YouTube watching it, and like when it started, I was like, did I click on the wrong video? Like, the fuck? And then it just turns to gameplay, and I'm like, oh, okay, gotcha. Definitely weird. Did not expect it. But color me intrigued, if nothing else.
I don't know, like, dude, like,
yeah, like
Geoff,
I'm just hoping that the game will be like hilariously bad.
What, The Quiet Man?
Yeah, The Quiet Man.
Oh my God, The Quiet Man. I don't know. I saw a game where I could beat people up again, which there's always like a base level of interest when I see a game where I can beat people up. But what are people saying about it? I just looked at the trailer and I was like, oh, I'll throw it on the list. But I didn't really see a hell of a lot besides that.
I haven't seen like any comments.
Honestly, I saw the trailer, but nothing happens in it, so nobody knows anything. I just want to know, my one question about this game is, so the guy is deaf, is what I gathered.
Yes,
But
that's what I gathered as well.
when you play the game as him, are you gonna be deaf? Like, is there no sound in this game? Because if there is sound, then what's the point of playing as a deaf guy? Because it literally doesn't matter.
Is he just? Never mind. I can't make any kind of comment that could even remotely be construed as derogatory towards deaf people.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, is because if the gimmick is like he's deaf, so you're deaf, maybe it would be kind of interesting. But also playing a game where there's no sound or muffled sound or whatever it is would be weird. So I'd have to see what it's like. But if you're not deaf, like if there's just music and you can hear voices and stuff, then what's the point? It literally makes no difference if he's deaf or not.
Yeah, like that's basically the reason I put it on the list is I just wasn't sure what was happening exactly.
Yeah.
It would be strange to play a game with no sound or very little sound, but if they managed to pull that off somehow, it would be pretty cool.
Yeah, that'd be an interesting gimmick for sure.
Moving on to other games that aren't necessarily Microsoft exclusives. The one that I was most excited about from not first party and so on and so forth, Anthem. Like I've been pretty hyped on Anthem for a little while now. I don't often get hyped on, third person or first person kind of shooters, but god damn, man, Anthem looks really, really good.
Yeah. I skipped this trailer, so I don't know what it's about.
Oh, for real?
Yeah.
Like, Geoff, did you see it?
I really only saw a bit of it.
Man, I can't believe you guys. Like this. It looks like, okay, so I don't know if any of you guys remember back in the day on PC a game called Tribes and
Yes.
And subsequent sequels that came out for it. The draw in Tribes is that it's an FPS, but you have limited ability to fly. And the game was also really, really fast. And so there was kind of a freedom of movement in that game that you don't have in your in whatever first person shooter you're playing these days, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like Overwatch or even Splatoon or what have you, you are mostly kind of ground bound. So Anthem comes along and you can obviously run, you can jump, and then you can double jump, and then you can hang in the air or move through the air. And like visually it looks great, the gameplay looks great, and most of all there's like this freedom of movement to it. I don't know. I'm pretty hyped for it. Frankly, I'm very disappointed that you guys have not been up on this game.
Okay, so I'm definitely gonna watch the trailer, but what you're describing reminds me of Crackdown.
Yes. That's a very good way of looking at it. I loved Crackdown.
Which I think they announced Crackdown 3. That was one of the Microsoft ones we didn't talk about.
Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah, I think they announced it, but I haven't seen anything else for it. The game I was excited about of this list of games we have left was Cyberpunk 2077.
Yes.
That game looks fucking crazy.
Ooh, yeah.
I'm pretty hyped on that. Like, it's been, at least for me, it's been a long, long time since I've seen a good, Shadowrun style game.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what it looks like to me. I mean, is that what it looked like to you guys?
Yeah. It definitely shades of like Blade Runner and all that, good dystopian sci-fi that I enjoy.
Yeah. And there's
That's
just
great
not
that
that much.
it had a little bit of like 80s flavor as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
A lot of neon going on in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely like a big amalgamation of everything that we grew up with. So you've got like your cyberpunk from the 90s, which is like your anime style, like Genocyber of Cyber City Oedo, Ghost in the Shell, all this sort of stuff. But it's clearly like how I kind of saw it was like it's Ghost in the Shell, but when it's gone wrong, when society's gone too far towards like all the technology, but it's so intriguing. It's like the setting is just, it's like Ready Player One. Everything in it, you just kind of like, you're completely like, okay, I want to be there. That's where I want to spend the next 60 hours of my gaming life.
Yeah.
But
and the fact
absolutely.
that it's CD Projekt Red, at least to me, says like it's going to be a big game. Like this is going to be a large world like this, which I'm really excited about.
60 hours ain't gonna be enough. It's gonna be more like 160 hours.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think
worth.
I will be more than happy to devote that time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Aside from that, Fallout 76, didn't really do anything for me. Honestly,
Next.
did not really do anything for me, except for very appreciative of the use of country roads in that trailer.
Yes, absolutely. excellent song choice by Bethesda there.
But yeah, do you guys anything on Fallout 76?
I mean, oh god, I'm so old, dude. Like I liked Fallout when it was like Fallout 2 on the PC, where it was like a straight up RPG. And Fallout 3, Fallout 4, like, here's the thing, like, to me those games are all about setting, but the gameplay, to me, was a little bit too close to Elder Scrolls.
Yeah.
And, after Oblivion, I was kind of like, I'm kind of good with that style of game. So even though I want to enjoy Fallout because of its very unique setting, the gameplay just doesn't really speak to me anymore, unfortunately. So I see something like Fallout 76, and the co-op aspect is intriguing because I do have friends here in town who really like Fallout, and that could be an excuse to get back into it, is being able to play co-op with my buddies. But aside from that aspect of it, I'm not really too hyped about it.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I mean, I really struggled with Fallout 4. That was just a tough game for me to kind of get into. Fallout 3 I actually really liked, but I think I've kind of been a bit burnt by these kind of games that I feel like 76 is going to come out unfinished. It's going to be buggy as hell, and it's going to require lots of patches to be playable. And I just get the feeling like I'll let this one kind of die down, see how people are getting on with it before I jump on board.
That's a very good point. Yeah. I mean, is Bethesda known for releasing buggy games?
People had problems with Fallout 4. I do remember that.
I think I remember that too.
Yeah. So I agree. I'd probably let it come out, see what it actually looks like, and then decide then. But definitely, Cyberpunk is the open world game that's the one.
Yeah.
Yeah. From that list for me, like this little list that we have here also has Devil May Cry 5, which, looks great.
Yeah.
Mega Man 11
was very fun for Devil May Cry 5.
Yeah.
It's so over the top, but in a good way. Like, out of that little list that we have, Cyberpunk is absolutely like the number one, the game that I'm most hyped about this. But like, Devil May Cry 5 is let's say distant second, but it's still like the second.
Yeah. And I also saw a little bit of Mega Man 11.
Yep.
And I have to admit, like, I was shocked. It actually I think it looks incredible.
Doesn't it? It looks really good.
Yeah.
And I like the new gameplay mechanics.
Yeah, I was really, really pleasantly surprised. I mean, look, it's called Mega Man 11, right? Yeah. Like, we're kind of trained to not really expect too much in the way of innovation, which is fine. Like, you'll have franchises that come out every few years and it's more of the same, and that's all well and good. And gameplay wise, graphics wise, like everything, it just looks, I don't know, man. It looks like it's got a fresh coat of paint. It looks really good.
Yep. Looking forward to that one. And then the last one we got on here is Doom Eternal.
Ooh.
Which I know very little about.
Me too.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think any of us know a whole lot about the new game. Personally, I really loved the first new Doom game, and it's one of my favorite modern first-person shooters by far. So
Well-
based on that, I'm really excited about Eternal. But like, yeah, I mean, we got that teaser and
Yeah.
that's it.
I mean, you
about it.
pretty
Yeah,
much
and
know what
that's
you're going to
about
get here, right? You're just going to get arenas full of demons, lots of gore, glory kills, and it's just going to be crazy mayhem. It's going to make you feel sick after half an hour because it's just so much going on. But you just keep playing it because you are just chainsawing the demon's head off. You're like, this is Doom,
Yeah.
Well,
I
and
think-
that's all well and good.
Yeah, I think I think that's about it for the ones we have on the list. I know Assassin's Creed had a new game they announced, right? Odyssey
Correct.
or something.
Yeah.
Mario,
Yeah.
the Mario Odyssey crossover that everybody was waiting for.
Yeah, they had Assassin's Creed was there. Tomb Raider, the new Tomb Raider was
Oh,
there.
that's
That was a
right.
big deal. There was a new Total War game coming out,
Oh,
and
really?
that looked really good.
Oh, that's
Um,
interesting.
Oh, yeah, and,
I want to check
this-
that out.
And also the Square Enix event, they had a game by Platinum, but I forgot the name. But I mean, it's Platinum, so
Yeah.
it's automatically like automatically interesting.
Yeah.
No,
And then
the name escapes me as well. But yeah. That's
Yeah.
Yep.
And then lest we forget more Octopath Traveler hype, I think. Right. That game's coming out like soon. Isn't that game
Yeah,
coming
that
out,
game's coming out. That
Yeah,
game's
July
coming out pretty
13th.
soon.
I
I think the
don't
demo was released a
understand
few days ago.
why is there another demo? I don't get it. It's another one of those things where it's like we've known about this game for over a year now.
Yeah.
We got the demo last year. They must have been testing the water. I thought it was great, and I love Bravely Default. They're again one of my favorite RPGs from the 3DS era. Except for the end, it kind of like the difficulty spikes a bit unfairly. But like if it's from that same team, I'm all in. It's like we don't need another demo, and it's coming out so soon. I don't get why, but maybe the pre-orders aren't that high. Maybe they need to create a bit more buzz. Like not everybody's sold like I am, I guess. So, but it's still a bit odd.
Well, I think the problem with it is that you'll have your hardcore fan base that is going to buy it no matter what.
Yeah.
But then you have a whole bunch of other people that you're trying to convince to pay full price for a pixel art game.
Mm.
And I think that's a tough sell these days. Because when people see pixel art games, they think indie and they think, $30 instead of
Yeah.
$70.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be a tough sell, and they might hit a wall there.
But this is probably a big conversation. But for me, like this is where I was hoping in this E3 with Nintendo to kind of have that 2-tier gaming on the Switch. So on the 3DS, you had Fire Emblem, you had Bravely, you had like these kind of lower price. So in Holland, they're about €40, and then Switch games are €60. But at the moment, so I was happy to own both systems because I have my portable games that are a bit cheaper, but have just as much depth, and I have my Switch for my home console. But now the Switch, it's all home console, so Fire Emblem is going to be €60. But Fire Emblem wasn't €60 on the 3DS, so it's like
Yeah, it's the same thing with like Pokemon. Like Pokemon games have always been, €40-45 games, but like now it's gonna be like €60 to €70.
Yeah.
Like the Let's Go games, and also like Kirby on the Switch. Like I bought it day one, and I mean I paid it, I don't know, maybe €60 for it, and it's actually shorter than the €40 3DS games.
yeah.
Well, I guess, what can I say, right? I guess we'll see what happens. I'll be very interested to see how Octopath Traveler sells.
Yeah. How it does.
Like I agree, Geoff. We don't need a demo per se. We just kind of want it released. But I also think you're right in that maybe they needed to get that demo out there to get some more, hype for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see. And that pretty much wraps it up. Anything else, guys, from E3 that you want to hit on real quick?
The only thing I have is Hollow Knight, so I immediately
Yes.
downloaded that, and that's pretty good so far. I'm really enjoying that.
That was recommended to me last year by a buddy who was like, "You've got to play this game. You've got to play this game on Steam anyway." So the fact that it's going to be available on Switch, I think now is the time to dip my toes in the Hollow Knight waters.
Yeah.
I have actually had the game on Steam for for months because I actually won a giveaway and I got a download code for the game.
Wow.
But I have to say I haven't played it. Like I still haven't played it, even though it's like one of those indie game darlings that when you go to all these like online forums and stuff, there's like the Hollow Knight threads are always like massive compared to like most indie games, and it's a very popular game.
Yeah. For me, I'm gonna sound like I'm complaining, but it's another E3 where I don't hear anything about that mainline Shin Megami Tensei title is supposed to come out on the Switch.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Where's
I forgot
that?
about that.
Still waiting. I'm waiting to buy my Switch. Just need to tell me when that's coming out.
Is that really what's
I don't
holding you
think
back?
your
Come on, now.
Switchless
That
life
is-
will
that is
end like
the thing.
anytime soon.
As soon as I
Like
find
see
out
you
when
in
that's happening.
2020 or something.
All right, guys. Well, yeah, I think that wraps it up, man. Like for all the complaining that I've done about E3, and there's been tons. Pretty, it's a pretty exciting and it's a pretty fun event. I was really happy to see, all the different trailers and all the excitement and so on. It gets you kind of hyped for the hobby again in case you ever have a lull.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty happy with it.
Would you recommend it to someone who living in Europe to go? Would you say it's worth a trip to California and head over to E3, or just best to watch it online?
Well, Geoff, what I'll tell you is that if there's a day where you're sitting in your flat and you're thinking to yourself, man, I could really use a big lineup right now, then I have a great convention for you to attend. Just let me know.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you know what's funny? We didn't even talk about the only game that Paul actually played at E3.
Oh,
I know
damn.
we didn't talk about Soul Calibur 6. Oh god, that's funny.
All right. In 10 words or less.
Look, what can I say? It's kind of back to basics. It has a lot of the classic characters. It played really well. It looked really good. For me, it's a day one purchase.
Yeah. Do you get to play with Gerald at all?
No, he wasn't in the playable demo, unfortunately.
Oh, lame.
Yeah, I know, or else that's all we would have been seeing. But yeah, I mean, to me, it's a day one purchase. I like the fact that it's kind of back to basics, but with still a little bit of spice. Like you still have some super moves and so on and so forth. Yeah, it's a no-brainer for me anyway.
Yeah. And Gerald is coming to both versions, right? There's not like a PS exclusive character and a Microsoft exclusive character this time?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I played a demo, so
Yeah.
I don't really have much news other than like I got to play a game.
Yeah.
But yeah, what can I say? To me, absolutely no-brainer.
All right.
Okay, well, thanks again. Thanks again, everybody, for listening. Thanks to the guys here for hosting. Masa, where can we find you?
You can find me on Instagram, and my handle is masacharvinen09.
And Geoff?
Yep. You can find me on Instagram as well at Gspot Gaming.
Arnie?
Find me at Welcome to the Game. It's the word welcome, the number 2, the game.
And you
just
can
chilling.
find me... Oh, sorry, say again?
I was just saying, just chilling over there. So, Paul?
And you can find me on Instagram as well, Paul's Game Room, Paul's_Game Room. And obviously we've got our Instagram for the show at Region Free Gamers. Hit us up there. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you don't like. We're always interested to hear. And thanks very much for listening. Thanks, guys.
All right.
Cheers.
Peace.
Thanks for the invite.
Thanks.
Cheers.